Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Ivan Kalema. I'm joining in from Kampala, Uganda. It's 31 minutes past 20 hours here in Uganda, East Africa. So I want to welcome you all from wherever you're joining in. Just type in the chat box wherever you are joining in, and we'll be glad to go. I want to invite Trevor to join in right away. Trevor, you're most welcome. Let us give him a virtual hand clap to welcome on the floor. Thank you very much, Trevor. You have the floor. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate, again, Ivan and your team, your faithfulness and your resilience. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to session 9 of the Youth Compass Project Masterclass. Now, last week, Peter gave a very inspiring talk about resilience, didn't he? And I hope you watched it again. I've sent, everybody has seen the link. And it couldn't have been more important to have that session because my resilience is being tested this evening. So my special guest has not arrived. So I'm sitting here without my guest. And I have no idea what's happened. I've phoned, I've texted, and he's not here. So I'm just being honest with you, because these are the kinds of things that we as leaders have to work out. You know, do we give way to despair and hopelessness, or do we just find a different route than we expected to take to achieve our aim? So that's what I'm going to do tonight. We are recording this session, and my guest this evening was to have been Martin Kalunga-Banda from Zambia, and he was a presidential advisor to the president of Zambia. He's the author of 3 different books, one of which is about Nelson Mandela, and the other books are about how to finish well. So how to finish well is really important, because often when people start in their lives, they might be full of enthusiasm and want to be very successful. The question is, how are you going to finish? That leads into the question of legacy. And that's where heart and character is so important, because often our heart and character are what fail us. So this evening, I was going to interview Martin about the subject of love. Now, I just paused that. Martin, can you hear me? Martin, I just see Martin has arrived. So
I can hear you, and I deeply apologize.
Okay. Are you okay to talk to us for a little bit?
I am.
Because I know you had to go on to another meeting.
Yeah, no, we just have a bereavement, but I'm here.
Oh, Martin, I'm so sorry. Are you sure you want? It's okay. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm here.
Okay. Well, look, the way we can just put this, so I've been just trying to talk about love in the basis things you and I talked about the other day. And just in the time that we have available, I'm just going to open the floor to you, Martin, and thank you so much for giving us this time. You saw some of the questions that I wrote to you. Just talk to us around those questions. Talk to us about your own journey and about love. For the next, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, if you're able.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dear friends, I again deeply apologize. We have a bereavement, someone we called mother here in the UK, although I'm originally from Zambia, an Austrian woman married to a British gentleman, and they are both 85. And she passed on yesterday, and we just got told. For me, when we are talking about love, this is what love looks like. She came as a young person around the age of 18. She got married early, and in those days that was also normal. And she moved over. It's much more difficult to capture what that feels like, because travel between the United Kingdom and Austria is now nothing in terms of time, in terms of the effort it takes. in those days, it was something different. When I went to see John, the one thing he said was, I cannot believe that over 70 years ago, she made up her mind to give up her homeland to come and live with me. So in a way, love for me, Trevor, dear colleagues, it's the capacity to let go of oneself as the center and to realize that you find self when you make a commitment to other, whatever that is. Actually, in Ubuntu philosophy, which most of you in the call will recognize, you become more Muntu as you move from the center of self. It's almost contradictory. The more you attend to the needs of others, the more you attend to the needs of Mother Nature. And equally important are the following two. The more you listen to the voice of your ancestors, and the more you listen to the voice of those who will call you their ancestor, the more you become human. And in my tradition, which is from northern Zambia, that's what it means to love. Love is not self-focus. It's always elusive. When we focus on the self, it becomes elusive. We can't touch it. We can't feel it. But as soon as we let it go, because there is a cause we are fighting for, there is a community we are committed to deeply, even to the point of laying one's life, then we start experiencing what it means to love. So I grew up in northern Zambia, near the border with Tanzania. My father was a primary school teacher and he moved from place to place. My mother tilled the land. But I was fortunate enough to attend Catholic education for my secondary school. They made all of us look clever. It wasn't because we were clever. All of us qualified to go to university in my class. It wasn't because we were clever. It was because we met men and a few women who were deeply committed to raising young ones. And that's the magic of it. Everyone becomes capable and can fly once you are in the hands of what Trevor would call elders. And by that, I don't mean, and you must have heard that from Trevor several times, I don't mean just those who are like me, odd. It's anybody who is practicing certain values. Looking at your pictures, you must be way half my age, most of you. But you can easily move into eldership. I will leave that for your continued conversation with Trevor. But from there, then, I went into university, finished university, came to England to study, and I went back to Zambia to teach at the university. Within a year, I got tired of teaching traditional philosophy. So I developed a new course called Business Ethics. And one of my professors told me, Martin, you are too junior to start thinking of creating your own course. But he was an elder. He said that because that was the tradition, but he didn't look away. He still looked at me and said, let's begin now so that in 4 or 5 years' time, when you have become a senior lecturer, maybe you can have a go at setting up your own course. I listened to him. In the night, I worked through the proposal I was making. When he looked at that, he said, I'm really sorry. this is ripe enough to be presented before the Curriculum Development Committee of the Senate. And that's how, 6 months later, a junior lecturer introduced a new course at the University of Zambia called Business Ethics. After 5 years of teaching, I moved on. For my sins, I went into the oil industry. I went as corporate affairs manager for Zambia, and then later on, head of corporate affairs for the whole of Africa based in Cape Town. It was when I was in Cape Town and I was put on a training program like you are, that I started hearing a voice each time I woke up to reflect on what life was asking of me for the day. And in one of those moments, I felt a strange urge. And when I arrived at my office, I lifted my phone and called a friend back home. And I said, please, could you find me the number to the president's office? My friend said, Martin, what have you been smoking? Which normal human being would want such a number? But like all good friends are, he called back, gave me the number, and said to me, please do not be silly with that number. I somehow heard that. At 10 to 5 p.m., I looked at the number. Some madness sipped in me. I dialed the number. And the response came, this is State House. How can we help you? I introduced myself. My name is Martin Kalunga-Banda. May I speak to the president? The voice went, Mr. Kalunga-Banda, is the president expecting your call? I answered, no, but it's crucial that I speak to the president. Then there was silence. A new voice came. Hello, how can we help you? I reintroduced myself. Same questions asked of me. I emphasized my response. It's really, really important that I speak to the president, I said confidently. Then silence, music, and yet the third voice came. Hello, State House, how can we help you? At that point, I had grown a little bit impatient, and I simply said, my name is Martin. I've been trying to speak to the president for the last 5 minutes. And then the voice went, Mr. Kalunga-Banda, this is the president. How can I help? Friends, at that point, I forgot why I had called. And when I next spoke, I said completely the wrong thing. I'm terribly sorry, sir. I didn't vote for you in the last election. He laughed and then said, at least you are honest about your vote. Now, can you tell me why you wanted to speak to me? I did. And then he invited me to go and meet him. To cut the long story short, all I wanted was to let him know that when we lead with love and care, we produce different results from when we lead out of fear. At the end of this interaction, then the president asked me if I could become his chief of staff. I knew I wasn't qualified and I didn't have the experience. I pointed him in the direction of his former colleagues and friends when he was young and in school. He insisted that he wanted me to try to do the job. I said yes. And as soon as I said yes, my memory opened up. I remembered 2 people. In Trevor's language, I remembered 2 elders that I had worked with. One that I had worked with when I was in BP. He had been director of communication for Bill Clinton. And another one I'd worked with in Oxfam GB was an advisor to Tony Blair. And the 2 became my mentors. When I was pretending to be chief of staff to the president, it was because I was backed by men who had done and seen it all. And every time they gave me unlimited access. But the story is, when I went to work at State House, and if somebody had allowed a stray call like that to reach the head of state, I would have not just fired them. I would have fired everybody who was involved in the line of that decision making. However, I'm slightly more aware than that. So what I've told you is not just a Martin story. It is your story. What I learned now with passage of time is that life does bring up these little doors that open and then they close very fast. They open and then they close. If you do not have quality attention to what is happening around your life, these little windows will open and close and you don't realize it. So whatever you interpret out of my story, it's not only mine, it's yours. Because I can bet, even if we have never met in person apart from Trevor, that these little windows have opened and they have closed. Part of what it means to grow and to be wise and to capitalize on what life throws at us is paying attention so that we don't miss when these little windows are opening and fast closing. And when we see one opening, we slot ourselves in it. Don't worry about where help is going to come from. I didn't know how to do the chief of staff job. As soon as I said yes, people more qualified than myself held me, supported me, and I looked like a success, but it's because I was backed by elders. Trevor, sorry, I may have gone beyond.
No, not at all.
I just wanted to.
No, thank you so much. That was so helpful. Honestly, I find it inspiring every time I listen to you. I really do. And maybe just some of the other things that you and I spoke of the other day around love. I've talked to a little bit to the group this evening about this issue of power. Could you talk to us about power and love for a moment?
Thank you. For me, in simple terms, power is simply the ability to make things happen. And we get this power from many sources. Some of you may have certain power to make things happen because of birth. Your parents might have been this or that in society, and through them, you might have the capacity to do certain things. But also, you might have power because you constantly produce ideas. People who produce ideas are powerful because we tend to listen to them. You may have power because you can communicate most compellingly. People listen to you and they follow. They take action upon listening to your word. That is a lot of power. But you may also have the power to reward. My colleague that I've worked with in London described this as the power to reward is because you are highly networked. You may connect one person to the other, or you might have the finance capacity to reward somebody directly. Power comes in many forms. What I have learned over time is that all these forms of power I'm describing serve their best when it's coming from a core from within you, an inner strength because of the values and beliefs you hold. And the values and beliefs go back for me to what I said earlier. In my tradition, it is in my awareness that I should strive to be a better and better Ubuntu philosophy. Power comes from the congruence I create between that inner core and how I show up on a daily basis in my relationship with other people.
Mm.
And when I was doing my little book on Nelson Mandela, I came to discover the story when he was being interviewed and someone says, Tate Mandela, how does it feel to be a person of such immense power? And Mandela said, after a bit of reflection, my challenge is not how to use power. My challenge is how not to use power. I can easily use power, but not using power so that you allow other people to grow to the same stature as yourself is much more challenging, because the ego leans towards use of power. But when we realize that power is a tool that can be used to enhance the well-being of others, individuals and communities and organizations, the struggle is not its use. The struggle is, one, how not to use it most of the time. Number two, when to use it and deploy it effectively so that others will not feel insignificant in your presence.
Mm.
Power is when others are with you, they feel stronger, they feel invited, they feel they can be more, they can do more. That's where real power lies for me, Trevor.
Wow. Thank you. Do you have time just for one last question?
I'm here for all the time I should
Okay,
pay
fine.
for
No,
missing the beginning
we have
of
to,
this. I'm here
yeah.
throughout.
Thank you. I appreciate that hugely. We have to end in a few minutes, but I just wanted to ask you this question that relates to the Youth Compass project as a whole. How vital do you think it is that every young person has a mentor in their life, and that every older person becomes a mentor to younger people?
Trevor, you are pushing an open door, because I'm a good example of, if I wanted to pretend I can appear before people, before audiences, before my students here at the university and say, I'm actually self-made. But that would be a complete lie. At every turn of my life, I have had an elder, both in terms of age and in wisdom. That doesn't always go with just age, but people of my age who have been there routing for me. The person I told you who taught me the work I did when I worked for BP, I was 28. He was a 24-year-old Colombian. Andreas Paniat, I still remember his name. Oh boy, oh girl, he knew the energy industry like the palm of his hand, and they gave him to me as my mentor. Within the first year of working for BP, I received the highest performers bonus and award. It wasn't because I was clever. It's because I had Andreas Paniat. And for some reason, I've been lucky enough that throughout my life, I have had a mentor. Even when I'm 61 this year, a few weeks ago, I still have a mentor. I still have people I run to and I say, can I help sort out this? Can you help me make sense of this world? And they are walking the journey alongside me. Trevor, it's my long winding way of saying, if I had a way, every young person on the African continent would have at least a mentor, would at least an elder that they walk the journey with. We all need one. And if Africa has to fulfill the dream of being one of the youngest continents, we have no choice but to invest in them.
Wow. So if one of the young people this evening said to you, okay, Martin, I get it. How do I find a mentor or an elder? What do I do? What would you say to them?
First of all, look in your community. Quite often, there are people, and you guys are lucky. Your community is not just the geographical location of community. We are in a community right now.
Mm.
So your sense of community is very different. And even if it means I just have a strong feeling that I could do with someone who from time to time I confer with, to share my reflections, to share my dreams, to throw my questions at, even if they don't have answers. It doesn't have to be clear. To get a mentor, you don't have to have clarity. It feels from within again. We have neglected the wisdom that comes from within because everything is frontal, everything is going outward. Social media doesn't help because it's going out. It's time to bend the beam of observation into here. And when you listen closely there, you will feel the craving for someone trusted to walk the journey with you. All I'm saying is that widen your concept of what is in my vicinity, because what we are doing now is the modern form of community. And you might have other settings. I know many of you belong to a church or a mosque. There might be people there. In your workplaces, there might be people there. But don't shy away from being outrageous, like I was, by cold calling a head of state.
Very good. Thank you so much, Martin. Listen, Martin, I love listening to you. Honestly, I do. Especially with what's happened to you today with your bereavement. We are all deeply honored and humbled by the fact that you found your way here and we've had some of your wisdom. So I want to thank you hugely for giving us your time this evening. So thank you. So I've often thought about the issue of love. Obviously, we talk about love. And I'm going to just share my screen maybe for a moment. I have a few slides, so I'm going to share my screen. Let's talk about love then. The first thing to say about the word love is what we call a catch-all word. In other words, love is a word that we use that means many things. So it means kindness, it means compassion, it means empathy, it means care, it means forgiveness, it means justice, it means sacrifice. It means speaking truth, it means setting boundaries, it means serving others or being merciful and healing. So this word love, it means many different things. So just keep that in your mind to start with. So let me just talk around this subject. I had a conversation with Martin the other day and I asked him, I said, if you had a group of young people in front of you, and they said to you, what is love? What would you say? And his answer was very powerful to me. So let me share his answer. What he said was, he said, you being here on this earth, you did not make that happen. It's a gift. You didn't make yourself be here. It's a gift that you are here. And you have talents and you have a personality that is unique to you. And you didn't give yourself those talents and personality. They were given to you. So what he's saying is your whole life is a gift. So the question of love is, who gave the gift? If we receive our life as a gift, then we have already engaged with love. And what does it mean to be loved? And once you know that your life is a gift, your personality is a gift, and your talents are a gift, then all you can do is share that gift with the people around you for their benefit. So that's what love is. Love is that your life is a gift that exists for the benefit of others. And that is the most excellent way in our lives. See, there's two ways you can go. One is to focus on your ego. And ego says, my life is all about me, who I am, what I want, what I can get. How can I be famous? How can I succeed? How can I be well known? How can I find a relationship that makes me feel good? Everything's centered on me. That's one way. But if I understand that my life is a gift, then what love calls me to is humility. Humility means I recognize that my life is a gift. And I recognize that your life is a gift. And that for me to be the fullness of what I can be in my life, in Africa, this has been well known under the philosophy of Ubuntu, which means I am because we are. That my relationship with you is at the center of my own identity. I cannot be completely fully me without you. It's only as I invest in you that we together can become and fulfill our potential. So love is reaching out. Love is going beyond our own ego to reach the benefit, to be a benefit for other people. So that's what love is. And that word is, as I say, many things. It means loving, caring, forgiving, kind, merciful, all of these things. And if you think about love, then every moment of every day, we have an opportunity to love. Because we're meeting people all the time. So just stopping and giving someone time is an act of love. Giving them your full attention when they're talking to you is an act of love. And you see the opposite of that these days. Someone is talking to you and you think they're really listening. And then their mobile phone rings. And they say, oh, hold on a minute. And they pick up their phone and they have this conversation. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that their phone and this other person is more important than you. That is not loving. That's happening every day. You see someone and they're in need and you walk past. You don't even smile and acknowledge them as a human being. Well, that's not love. We can love by just saying hello, and they might say, could you give me some money? And you might honestly say, I don't have any money. But if you do have some money, you might say, let me give you what I have. I remember a guy once in Kenya. I was down on the coast near Malindi, and I had a t-shirt on, and there was a guy came up to me on the beach, and his t-shirt was in rags. And he said to me, can I have your shirt? Now, I liked my shirt. I wanted to keep my shirt. But did I need my shirt? No, I had other shirts. So I gave him my shirt so that he could feel some dignity and respect for himself. And I went back and I got another shirt, and it's fine. I haven't thought about it till this moment. Life went on. So every moment of every day, we have these opportunities. You know, when you make yourself a cup of chai, well, make someone else a cup of chai. When you buy some food for yourself, maybe the old lady who lives next door, you say to her, can I get anything for you from the shops? All the time, every day, we have these opportunities to reach out beyond ourselves. Now, of course, when we talk about love, we talk about romantic love very often. But if you think about why people want to find a girlfriend or a boyfriend, often it has got nothing to do with love. What we want is to find someone who will make us feel better about ourselves. So we want their love to us to feel good about ourselves. And of course, the reality of any relationship is they also want to feel good about themselves. So they want you to love. So now we've got two people in this relationship. demanding of each other love and unable to give each other love. So even in getting involved in a relationship, any relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or a relationship with a friend or a member of your family, there is one place where we need to start with love. And the starting place is yourself. If you do not love yourself, if you do not have a deep sense of your own worth, then it will be very difficult for you to love someone else, because you will either be protecting yourself or you will be demanding of them to fulfill your needs. So, knowing that you are loved, spending time reflecting on what does it mean for you to be loved? Let me give you a simple exercise. Think of the kindest person you know, the kindest that you've ever met. Just think of them for a minute. Imagine them sitting here right now. What does it feel like inside you to be with someone who's so kind? So kind. Now, if you can imagine that, then you've got what it takes to love yourself, because that person is not sitting here right now. Your imagination and your emotions know what it feels like to really feel loved. So take that feeling now and give it to yourself. Give that feeling to yourself. You give the love to you. That's where it begins. Love yourself. When those of you who have read the Bible, when Jesus says, love one another as you love yourself, it's like it starts there. If we don't value ourselves, we won't value others. If we don't reach out to ourselves in kindness, we won't reach out to others in kindness. Let me give you another example. If you imagine taking a microphone and you put that microphone inside your head and listen to the conversation inside your head that nobody ever gets to see, I wonder what you would hear. I think you would hear things like, oh, that's no good. I got that wrong again. I'm no good. That didn't work out. I knew it wasn't worth bothering. I'll never learn that new skill. Nobody likes me. Do you know, I had a very arresting thing happen 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I had a lunch with 3 people that I have not seen for 50 years. The last time I saw them was at the end of school, when I left school. And when I left school, I failed my exams. And I felt great, great shame, because I thought everybody else had passed theirs and I was the only one who'd failed. I felt terrible about myself. And I hid from them. I didn't dare meet them because I felt embarrassed. I felt shame. And for 50 years, I carried that thought that everybody else did fine, but I did not do fine. Do you know what I discovered at my lunch? They failed their exams as well. And I hadn't known that. What that means that the voice in my head for 50 years was telling me lies about myself. I wasn't telling myself loving truths. And I had to change my thinking this week to put in loving thoughts back into my head about myself. You see, if our own thoughts are full of criticism or anger towards ourselves, then guess what happens when you talk to other people? You'll be angry with them. You'll be irritated with them. You'll be fearful of them, frustrated with them. You see, what is inside of us, our heart and character, is what comes out of us. There is a very well-known saying that hurting people hurt people, or wounded people wound people. So when you look at people around you that are unkind, unloving, hateful, even ourselves, when we're unkind or irritated or unloving, where does that come from? It comes from the fact that we don't love ourselves, because if we were kind to ourselves, we would be kind to them. If we had touched a sense of compassion for our own failures and mistakes and limitations, our humanity, then when you meet someone else who's different than you, then you'll view them with kindness and compassion and humanity. So all love starts with self-love, and then we take that love and take it outwards to others. Now, in the world of leadership that I work, there's a thing called servant leadership. Now, what a servant is someone who brings food to the table. They bring food to nourish someone else. So when we talk about even leading people, what is servant leadership? Well, it's love. What it means is I look around me, in my family, in the meeting that I'm in the conversation I'm in, and I ask myself, what can I bring to the table in this conversation that will feed these people? What can I do? And get creative. My wife and I sat down this morning at the breakfast table and we said to ourselves, let's think of who we can encourage this morning. And we came up with some names, and I sent some texts. I got in some conversations. My wife sent some cards to just say, and another couple we're going to give a financial gift to. So it's just stopping and saying, how can I serve today? What can I bring to the table of this relationship to benefit other people? Now that now leads me on to another aspect around leadership and love. You see, we all have power. Power simply means ability. If you can open your mouth, you have power. If you can write words, you have power. That's what power means. Now, often what we are taught and what we see in the lives of many leaders around us is people use their power over someone. They make themselves feel good by making you feel small. They make themselves feeling special by making you feel shameful. That's power over. It's used all the time. The elites, the powerful, use their power in order to dominate others, to lift themselves up. Not themselves, not other people, rather. They lift themselves, and to do that, they push down other people. We even do it in our conversations. You know, we make jokes about people at their expense, and everybody laughs. We feel great because everybody's laughing at our joke. But the person you just made a joke about feels terrible, feels small by what we just said. That happens in one-to-one relationships. It happens in marriages, partnerships, work, politics, community leadership, all over. People use power to push down other people, to lift themselves up. Now, that is not love. That's power over. What love is called power with. Power with. In other words, I use my power with you. So I say, I have this idea. What's your idea? I think we could do this. What do you think we could do? How do we do this together? How do we create a better community together? How do we rise together? And even if you look at countries and communities, you know what happens? When people begin to rise in their levels of income and well-being, everybody benefits. There are studies on this. And things like crime, addiction, social and mental problems go down when we rise together. Now, that is power with. What can we do? That is love. That's what love is, power with. And then there's another word about power, and you hear the word empower. Empower, we talk about empowering people. Well, empowering people is made of two words, M, E-M, and power. So what that means, the E-M part of the word means to put into. So empower means you put power into other people. So you go to a meeting and someone needs to do a presentation. You could do it. You could look wonderful and brilliant, but you say to someone else, how about you do the presentation? I'll support you. I'll help you prepare, but you go and do it because you can do it. I want to encourage you today. That's called empowering. When we put power into others, to put courage into them. That's where the word encouragement comes from as well. Put courage into another person. So empower and encourage are both love. Power with is love. But power over is not. So have a think about examples of love that you have seen today. I wonder what you've witnessed in acts of love, either that you've done, or maybe you realize now that you could have done, or you saw other people do. Have a think about that. So love is all those words. The second thing I've been talking about is love is going beyond your ego. So that big blue circle is the circle of love. The ego is me being just locked into myself. If you just focus on yourself, you will become a small person. You will not fulfill your potential. You will not become your own unique version of Mandela. Your life will become as big as your fears. But the red arrows are reaching beyond your ego, reaching out. That's what elders do. They reach beyond their ego into the lives of others. So here's some thoughts about developing love. Number one, find a kind of voice to yourself. Find a kind of voice to yourself. We've talked about that. Actually start practicing. How do you do that? How do you speak kindly to yourself? Pay attention to the sentences in your head and maybe even write them down, and then write down kind sentences that you could start saying to yourself. That's the first thing. The second thing is, where do I get my worth? See, a lot of people get their worth either from money or success or by getting another person to make them feel good. We become as big as what we worship, because the word worship means worth. We become as big as where we get our worth from. So if you get your worth from wanting a big car, that's how big you will become. If you get your worth from just trying to earn lots of money, that's how big you will become. So where do I focus my attention on? I need to focus on some source of love that is bigger than me, that is greater than myself to draw from in order to give myself these kind words about myself. The third point is this: everything and everyone is of equal value. Because your life is a gift, the tree in your garden is a gift. The flower on the plant that you pass is a gift. Everything is a gift. Everything has value. And what love says is everything is of equal value. My life is not more valuable than yours. Your life is not more valuable than the person sitting next to you right now. Everyone is of equal value, and everything is different. Everything is different. So what love does is it makes space. It embraces difference. You've got different views than me. You like different things than me. You probably support a different football team to me. You know, we have a whole range of different backgrounds and even countries that are represented here this evening. So everything is different. We're all different, but everything is of equal value. And I need to treat you with the same value that I want to treat me. Everything is of equal value. The next one is this. This is meant to say, how do I leave this person, there's a missing word there, how do I leave this person I meet feeling larger, not smaller? Everybody that you meet, even for the rest of this evening, ask yourself that question. How do I leave this person that I'm meeting feeling larger, more fulfilling their potential, more excited about who they are and who they're becoming, not smaller? How do I make sure I don't push them down in order to make myself feel bigger? How do I leave them feeling bigger? Next one. How do I offer them healing, not fixing our own needs? And I say this because a lot of people go into relationships, boys, girls, men, women, together. They go into relationships because they hope this other person will fix them, will fix their needs, will fix the wounds in their heart. So what we do is we go into a relationship quietly demanding that they offer us healing to make us feel better. Love says, let's turn that round. How do I offer them healing? What is their wounds? Where are they hurting? What questions are they asking? Where are their uncertainties right now? And if you're quiet and if you're focused on them, you'll hear it. You'll see it in their eyes. When you say to someone, how are you? And they say, I'm fine, but you look at their eyes because you're not making, your head isn't worrying about you now. You're looking at them. You look in their eyes and you think, you don't look happy. You look like there's pain there. They look like there's uncertainty there. And you could say to them, are you sure? I can feel a little bit of pain right now. So offer them healing, not to fix your own needs. And then the last one, do I seek power over or power with? This is really important. As we move into our lives and how do I develop my job and my career? How I can easily start saying, I might want to be a great public speaker because I want people to look at me and say, oh, isn't Trevor amazing? Oh, isn't he amazing because of the books he's written? Isn't he amazing? Do I seek power over people or power with people? How do I help them? to find out what their gifts and talents are. What is it that their potential is? What is their purpose in life? What excites them? Do I seek power over or power with? So thank you very much to everyone, and have a good rest of your evening. So thank you. And thank you again to Ivan and the team in Uganda who make this whole operation work so smoothly every week. We are deeply, deeply grateful to you. So thank you and good night.